And recording. Here we go. It's time for Clubhouse Chatter. Here's your host, Norm Ordez.
Well, good morning, baseball fans. And it is the Sunday before the World Series. Starts Tuesday, Giants and the Royals. I'm really excited for this year's World Series, and I think it's a load of crap that people are talking about how this World Series is going to be like one of the worst ones ever. You know what? I think it could be possibly one of the best ones ever. You got two teams who play the game right, there's not a lot of home runs. They've been hitting home runs in the playoffs, but, generally not a lot during the regular season. My first guest is John Acquisto, former number one draft pick of the San Francisco Giants, and the good doctor is in the house. John, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing fine. How you doing, Norm?
I'm doing pretty good. So let me ask you about your last name first of all. So how do you pronounce it? How is it pronounced?
Acquisto.
Acquisto. And so,
yes, and the Italian pronunciation is Acquisto.
Okay, there we go. That's what I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So you're a product of St. Augustine High School out of San Diego. Now, did you grow up a Padres fan?
Actually, it was AAA Padres I grew up with from the start of Lane Field in San Diego back in the middle 50s until they moved into Mission Valley at Westgate Park. And Westgate Park, that was, into the 60s. I was a bat boy for the Padres for about a 2-week period. And I grew up with the AAA Padres, but I was also, being a Giant, I grew up a Dodgers fan, believe it or not. Because that's all I could get on my transistor radio was my earbud. If you remember back then, they had little transistor radios with the little earplug, earphone. And I used to stay up in my bed with the flashlight and the covers pulled over my head, listening to the game. I could get the game in North Park, San Diego, from Los Angeles.
Nice. And you were listening to Vin Scully still.
Absolutely. I was listening to Vin Scully, and I've told Vin that story, and he cracks up every time I tell it to him.
Is he... Go ahead.
No, please, go ahead.
Is Vin Scully, isn't he the best? I mean, you got Ernie Harwell, rest in peace, but, you got all those old-timers, but, Vin, there's just something special about Vin.
Well, I call Vin God. Vin's God, the God of broadcasters. Everyone wants to have that voice like Vin Scully. Look at Al Michaels' voice. Al Michaels' voice is like Vin Scully. He fashioned himself after Vin Scully. When you really think about what Vin Scully has added to baseball, is astronomical. In the amount of years he's been involved, yet he's still going like he was when he first started. The man's 86 years old. It's like he doesn't forget a face. He does every time I see him. Because I work for the D-backs down there for Major League Baseball this year, and when they come into town, we'd be up in the lunchroom, and Ben would walk by and he goes, "Hi, John, how you doing?" He never forgets a face. And he always has time to spend with you, and that's what makes Vin very special. He's personable.
Yeah, I've heard many stories.
A lot of it being a great broadcaster too. So it's crazy.
Right, absolutely. And I'm a Giants fan. I'm a Giants fan because I worked for the Giants for about 8 years. But I was like you. Growing up in Idaho, the Dodgers and the Atlanta Braves were pretty much in the Cubs, but nobody cared about the Cubs then. But the Braves and the Dodgers, we got to watch almost on an everyday basis. So I grew up a Dodgers fan as well. I'm not your typical Giants fan who hates the Dodgers. I like the Dodgers. I'm excited for what the Dodgers are doing down there. They just got some kinks to work out. And I'll tell you what, watch out for next year. The Dodgers they'll be back, and there's gonna be some moves, obviously, and what do you think the Dodgers need to do to get them over that hump?
Well, a lot of it has to do with chemistry. If you look at the San Francisco Giants, that is pure chemistry at its best.
Right.
I go to the opposition that we'll see in the World Series, looking at the Kansas City Royals. That is also pure chemistry at its best. Those players play their hearts out for each other and for the fan base. It's all related to the fan base and to the team. It starts with the team and it goes into the fan base. On that particular point, when you're looking at that fan base, you're looking at the teams that are starting to really become strong in that particular position, having that chemistry to be able to play the game and know what each other's doing. A lot of times when you look at the Dodgers, you don't see that interaction chemistry. You see a lot of animosity towards each other to a point where the players aren't getting along, or there's aggravation. Someone didn't do something right and they know it. You can see it. Things like that are extremely noticeable. I've seen it on the field. When I was on the field doing my job with MLB, I could see it on the field. It was like nonchalantly coming up to the plate and not, really, like I'm going through the motions. I know I'm good and I'm going to do what I have to do to get the hit. And then they find out that there's somebody out on the mound that's a little bit better. Mm-hmm. And oops, we're in deep trouble now, and we don't know how to get back out of it. Then the anger begins. Then the lack of camaraderie dissipates. Then the team falls apart. That's what you're seeing with the Dodgers, and the Dodgers need to find a better blend of player, that works well in the chemistry part of it. But they're talented. They're the most talented team I've seen on the field.
Absolutely.
Next to the Detroit Tigers. Yeah, next to the Detroit Tigers, you look man for man, and you say, why didn't these teams make it? It has to do with chemistry. Bottom line is the chemistry of the team is just not clicking right now.
And that kind of gets lost with the players of today, I think. The younger players,
right.
Because chemistry back in your day, it was so huge. You had the stars, but I think that the stars were more spread out amongst the teams back when you were playing than what they are today. And so, money obviously back then, it was an issue, but it wasn't as big of an issue as what it is today. And it's all about the money now.
Absolutely.
And that was my issue with the Dodgers. They are, besides the Tigers, they are the most talented team in baseball. There's no doubt about that. On paper, they're the best.
Oh, yeah.
But when you go into the clubhouse, they have major issues. And you go into the Giants clubhouse, in the Royals clubhouse, you don't have those issues. Like you said, everybody's friends. Everybody gets along. It's about playing for the name on the front of the jersey, not the name on the back of the jersey. And the Dodgers aren't like that right now.
No, they're not. And you can definitely see it. You got Yasiel Puig, he's causing trouble. And then Adrian tries to smooth things out. And then Hanley Ramirez, he just doesn't care. Yep. He's out there, and, just kind of floating around. And you got to get everybody on the same page for the same thing, and the same thing is winning. And winning every day, you try to go out there and try to do your best, of course, but it's that projection of that attitude and the mental state of the team that creates that winning process. And once that process is created, then it becomes easy to win because you believe in yourselves and everyone knows what everyone else is doing.
Right.
And it makes things easier. You don't have to look at somebody. You'll be there. You know he'll be there. Or you know that pitch is going to be called a 3-2 curveball instead of a 3-2 fastball that the hitter's looking for. That your catcher has confidence in you to throw that 3-2 curveball with bases loaded. You know, those are things that win games.
Yep.
And you don't see those things right now. You really don't see them.
So let's fast forward to the World Series here. So you've got so here we are, 2014. The Giants are back. You know, it's an even year. You know, how good are the Giants? I mean, you know, people write them off every year. They write off the Giants. I mean, here they are. They win the wild card, and I had them picked to win the wild card for my preseason picks. But here they are in the World Series again. You know, it's not the Dodgers. It's not, you know, the team that's supposed to be there. But here they are. You know, they're I don't know. They're like that annoying little kid. In the fact that they're not going anywhere. Here they are. And the Cardinals are the same way. You know, the Cardinals, you know, played in the National League Championship Series. You know, here they are again. What sets the Giants and the Cardinals apart from everybody else that they're able to be there in the end?
Core nucleus. You look at the Giant team, you can go back to 2010, and a lot of the players are still there. Okay? You don't see that today in baseball. Players play the hired gun. I'm going to go to the next team for the money.
Right.
Because Giants have tradition. Cardinals have tradition. Teams that have tradition keep their players a lot longer because the fan base gets to know the player. And now it becomes one happy family. You have better play when you're happy. When you're not happy, you don't play as well.
Right.
It's all a mental state. And if you think about it, Norm, everyone's got talent in the big league. And
Absolutely.
Everyone's got pretty good talent pretty much straight across the board. It's that 10% up in your head that makes the difference. And believe me, I call it 10% talent, 90% mental. Everyone says it the other way around, that it's 90% talent and 10% mental. No, it's 10% talent and 90% mental. If that head's not working to make that body move, you're in trouble.
Right.
You know, and the Giants have that. Cardinals have it, but the Giants just were a little bit better. You know, a little bit better and beat them. And, you know, also, you know, not taking away from the Cardinals, but they lost Molina.
Right.
When you lose your catcher, your driver of the bus, you know, that's pretty tough. And then they had two catchers to come in. Guys hadn't caught. A.J. Brzezinski didn't catch for most of the year. And if he comes in and he catches one game, and then they have the other kid come in and catch, and, you know, it's just total confusion. But yet they played pretty good. They almost came back in that game. But, you know, Giants held them off. Giants know how to win games.
That they do.
Yeah, and it also boils down to who's running the team.
Right.
Mike Matheny's a good manager, you know, handpicked by Tony La Russa, and you've got the master of them all, who I think is baseball genius when it comes to managing, is Bruce Bochy. And Boch, you know, he's always thinking ahead. He's consummate manager like a Tony La Russa, who already has a game plan, B, he's played the game, he knows what to expect, and he has seen pretty much all of it, but he knows the percentages that are going to be coming his way, and he has the tools to fight those percentages to win the game.
Right.
We're having technical issues here.
All right. There we go. We're back. We had an issue here, so let's chat with. Sorry about that. So we have gremlins this morning. So
it's Halloween.
It is. It's getting close. It's getting close. So now let's hear the Royals. So I've been hearing so many people tell us how unsexy the Kansas City Royals are. I disagree 100%. I think the Royals are very sexy. I think that they play the baseball. I think they play baseball right. They use their speed, which they've got a ton of, and they play baseball like what I saw when I was growing up. Growing up in the '80s, and that's how baseball is played. Your home run leader maybe had 35 to 40 home runs, and that was it. You had guys stealing 100 bases, and here the Royals are. What do you think about the Royals?
I like them. I like the way they play. I saw them in spring training when I was screening for MLB AM, and I did a couple of games, and I said, "Oh, these guys are going to be bottom of the cellar." I don't see any. Their pitching looked pretty good, but I just don't see any gelling right now. But I'll tell you what, you talk about a team starting to gel, starting to pick it up right at the end of the season and into the middle of the season. Right after the All-Star break is when I saw that team just gel together, and they started utilizing their talents in the right spots. A lot of it had to do with Ned Yost, learning, what these guys are capable of doing in certain situations, and it took half the year to do so. But they kind of held their own for most of the first part of the year, and then they just turned on the gas,
right?
And they started beating everybody. And speed in the outfield is a tremendous plus. I had it when I was with the Giants in 1973, actually 71, 72, 73. When I was first with the Giants when I was 19, and you had the outfield of Willie Mays, Gary Matthews, and Bobby Bonds. And, Willie was on his way out, and then 72 it became Gary Maddox. Starting to show up, and then in 73 Maddox does show up, and you had a track star outfield that could run 109.3 to 9.5. And these guys are picking balls off the fences and running them down like unbelievably. You have that same situation with Kansas City. They A, get a good jump on the ball, B, they're fast, and they cover ground rapidly. And they know what to do with the ball when they get it. Get the cutoff man. They make no mistakes. Their infield is sound. Their catcher is strong. He's an all-star catcher. I personally saw him catch three games when I was in Arizona this year. And let me tell you, that kid is strong. He reminds me a lot of Sandy Alomar Jr.
Wow.
In his process. He calls a great game. He's got great mechanics. He can throw, and he's big and strong, and he can hit. So you've got a good blend. Their pitching's great. They've got great starting pitching. These kids have stepped it up. They're starting to believe in themselves, and then you've got a bullpen that's pretty sound. It's going to be a good matchup, and it boils down to the closers. Kansas City's got a little bit better closer than San Francisco.
Right.
But San Francisco can throw more weapons at you. And in the right spot. Because Bochy knows how to use them. Leggetti's right there with him. He tells him how to use his bullpen, who he's got available. Rags is always on top of everything. That combination is very unbeatable. That combination is very strong, and that's why they have been there for so long, and that's why the Giants recognize it and want to keep it.
Right. So how does
I
the
think
series?
It's going to be I think it's going to be a great World Series, and I totally discount that it's going to be the least watched World Series ever.
I agree.
Because the Giants are back in there again, playing an underdog, and that's Cinderella story time. So it's going to be everyone watching to see how Kansas City does against the Giants.
And I think they're going to show up. I think.
They are.
I think it's going to go 7. I think it's going to go the full 7. And I'm to a point to. I mean, I'm a Giants fan. And of course I'd like to see the Giants win. But if the Royals win the World Series this year, I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry at all.
I feel the I feel the same way. It's been since 1985 was the last time the Royals had a chance to even get into the World Series, and now they've gone, excuse me, but undefeated.
Yeah.
In the playoffs.
Yeah.
And here's something else that's ironic, and I posted this on my Facebook site the other day. It's very ironic that the two teams that are in the World Series are both the wild card teams.
Right. Yep. And the last time it happened was 2002 with the Angels and the Giants.
That's correct.
And,
again,
yep.
the Giants.
So let me ask you about Madison Bumgarner. I had a friend who asked me if Madison Bumgarner right now is the best postseason pitcher right now.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Look at what he was asked to do. Look how many games he was asked to pitch. And he said, give me the ball. I want this game. They didn't see. And once again, we go back to knowing your staff and knowing your guys, knowing what they have in their head and their heart. Okay? Baumgartner sat there. If he could pitch every game, he would.
Right.
All right? With 3 and 4 days rest, the days off kind of fit perfectly. They balanced out everything. They made sure he was able to pitch the most important games. They mapped it out. These guys are surgeons. These guys are baseball surgeons. They map and they sit and they think things out as a unit. The coaches, it starts from the top and goes right on down to the players. And the old saying is, the fish will stink from the top. It'll stink all the way through. It's not the case with the Giants. The Giants have that unity, that family cohesiveness from the top all the way down. And it shows when they map things out. Baumgartner is a direct reflection of that cohesiveness. And the kid is awesome.
Right.
He's probably the best pitcher I've ever seen in a playoff, and he reminds me of Dave Dravecky a lot with the same motion. If you remember how Dravecky threw, very similar in their motions. And it's just tough to pick up the way he comes out of the side, throws across his body, and goes against the stream, but that ball is just tough to hit, and he keeps it low. He keeps the ball down. He throws strikes. He doesn't get behind the hitters. He gets ahead of the count, and he makes you chase him. Plus, he's got an arsenal of pitches, and he can throw 94, 95. His top out is 95. He averages 93. He's got a great changeup, and he's got a great curveball. It's more of a swerve, foundation slider, which makes it more difficult to hit. I.e., Steve Carlson, same pitch.
Man, I love to hear those I love to hear those, the pitchers and players from, Gary Maddox, and I love to hear those names. It takes me back to my childhood, baseball was so different. Baseball was so different back in, growing up in the 70s and 80s. And, it wasn't about the money. I mean, it might have been for a few of the players, but, you didn't have the A-Rods and stuff like that. And, man, it was just pure. It was just so different. So
you played for the love of the game, and I hate to be cliche, but, it was for the love of the game. I had an off-season job at Bank of America, for crying out loud. I made more at the bank than I did playing ball.
Wow.
This is the scary part. And you think about what you had to do to just to be there to play, the honor to play baseball. It went down deep into the soul. Now it goes down deep into the pocketbook.
Yep.
Okay. And I'm not against the guys making any money. I made $1.5 million in my contractual year. When I was with the Angels, and okay, fine. I got my share too, but I'm not against them making all that money. But don't lose sight of what's in your soul to play the game, to make it the game that it is and that we love. don't lose sight of where you came from. Is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely.
Because when that contract is over, your career is over. You're going to see the same people going up as you saw when you're coming down. So you better not burn your bridges on the way up, because you got those friends to catch you on the way down, because you're going to need them.
Yep. So, John, thank you for coming on the show. We would love to have you back. Maybe after the World Series is over, we can have you back and talk a little bit more about your career, because, I'm interested in hearing, some thoughts about, the pitchers, what the difference is for today and, for today's game than, playing when you pitched. And so we'll have to get caught up and reschedule for another show. And once again, thank you very much.
You're welcome, Norm.
And go Giants.
Anytime, and I'd be glad to come back on. And, yes, I'd love to talk about my career and the difference in pitching, and there is a big difference. Big difference today.
There is. So, once again, the good doctor, John D. Acquisto. John, thank you very much.
You're welcome, Norman. Have a good day.
Hey, you too.
Go Giants.
Go Giants.
Yeah.
See you later.
Take care.
All right, bye. So once again, John D'Acquisto, man, I'm finally glad to get him on the show. I've been chatting with him off and on over the last couple of years. I belong to his Facebook page, Baseball is a Religion, and he's always throwing out great stuff. Very outspoken. He's just a throwback. And
knows his game. He's a smart guy too.
Very smart. I mean, he's a doctor, for crying out loud. So there you go. Giants will win the World Series, and so
go Royals.
I would like to. Yeah, it's kind of funny because I
thought about that.
I got my Giants hat on, and I got my Israeli Strong baseball shirt for Nate Fish and the boys. So I got the royal blue on. So I threw that on. There is a purpose behind
the first time I saw you this morning, you walked in, it was like, Giants hat. Oh, it's not a Royal shirt. Okay. It sure looked like one to me at first.
So I'd like to plug our sponsors. Base by Pros with Mitch Canham. Check them out, basebypros.com. They have affordable lessons. Great thing they have going on. His dad, Mark Canham, prints our shirts for 99 Know-It-All. Check him out at MDM Designs, Mark Canham. As always, we stream live at yamhilltoday.com. Check that out. I get my hair cut, even though it's been a while, at Proper Cuts Barbershop. Carlos, dude, you need to be in the shop, man. I need a haircut. Carlos and the boys down at Proper Cuts Barbershop down on Baker. I haven't butchered that one for a long time, Brian. Baseballism.com. Check it out. Go in, purchase something. Type in Clubhouse Chatter, you get 15% off. And baseballdudes.com. Chris Gazelle up there in Vancouver. So I'm Norm, and that's producer Brian. We will be back. We will have Jim Wolford, former Kansas City Royal and San Francisco Giant, will be back on the show again, and we'll be back.